hybrid photo group. So first one that we've kind of been chit-chatting about is the transition from DSLR to mirrorless, because I had a conversation with one of the brands that we all know, and I said, we're getting people that are saying, all right, look, I'm either going to add a mirrorless camera to my DSLR system and then use it for hybrid, or I'm going to dump all my DSLR stuff and I'm going to move to mirrorless all the way. And they said, you know, Will, which way do you think we need to go? And if so, what did you do and what did I do? Well, of course, I didn't just dump all my DSLR stuff. It took me a long time to move to mirrorless with the work that I did. But Rob, you have a different story with your mirrorless. Fill us in about your transition as primarily wedding photographer, right? From DSLR to mirrorless quickly.
Right, so for me, the big thing was the versatility of the mirrorless over the SLR. Things like the weight and the noise. You know, you don't think when you're standing in a room of people that shutters make a lot of noise and have mirrors slapping around. But when you're in a church or a synagogue or a mosque and you're shooting, and you're the only person making any noise amongst the people in attendance, that became really loud. So I needed to find a better solution that was going to allow me to move around stealthily, take shots without being noticed, because the last thing I wanted in any of my pictures or video was to have people turn around to see what the noise was. Also happened that my SLR took its last breath, and I had to get something anyway. All
right, well, let's go there. You had a Sony digital SLR that you loved, and you shot a ton of jobs on that thing.
That's right.
Then your switch to the next camera body was pretty easy because your DSLR died.
Right.
And you're saying, geez Louise, Will, am I ready to go to mirrorless, or should I stay one more Sony body for DSLR? And I said, no, go with the 8 series. And
and which I did, and I was very happy. So when that first camera died, it was because it wore out.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like something unexpected happened.
Right.
It gave up the ghost. It didn't shoot anymore. So I went with the Alpha series of the Sony. I didn't have to replace my glass. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1". I'm a little more than 150 pounds. I'm big too. and I've got big hands.
Yeah.
So my biggest concern with some of the early mirrorless ones was they were so small.
Yeah.
They felt like they disappeared.
Yeah.
And the Alpha series still gave me that nice heft. But it wasn't a true mirrorless. It has the pellicle mirror.
Right.
And so it has some of the advantages of the SLR, some of the advantages of the mirrorless, but not enough. So now that I've gone down the road of hybrid enough, I'm now ready to say, okay, the whole SLR no longer works for me. So I'm going to switch to a true full mirrorless system in the near future.
You're the only guy I know inside of 3 years has gone from DSLR to kind of half DSLR, half mirrorless.
Well, we call it a hybrid camera.
To switching brands to move over. You have decided you're going to go Lumix, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the GH3.
Yeah.
By the time I'm ready to buy that, that's still going to be my go-to camera.
Yeah.
It has some features that my Sony didn't. The biggest one for me was being able to record audio internally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've done a bunch of vlog posts and talks on how to record externally.
Right.
And it works. It works fine. But it's one less step I'd like to have. And I'd like to have the good audio in camera. And I can do that with the GH3, and something I just really couldn't do with...
Particularly for what you're planning to do with hybrid
with my commercial work.
Yeah.
That's right.
Lou, you went to college. They gave you a DSLR to shoot with.
Yeah, old Nicky Cannon.
Yeah. You didn't like any part of it.
I mean, it had its limitations. It took a picture, so that was about it. There wasn't anything to it.
Then you got an internship with me.
Yeah.
I totally ruined your life.
Yeah.
And said, your teachers are crazy. The camera they've given you are garbage. There's no way you can complete your assignments with the stuff that they've given you, and you have way too much talent to be wasting your time on those silly assignments they give you. Anyway, so I loaded you up with whatever whatever mirrorless system that you wanted that was available to us.
Actually, the first one was this little pink, it was like a maroon pink camera, and I totally loved it too as a kid.
Is that right?
Yeah, the first camera.
Really?
Yeah, true story. First camera Will ever gave me was this pink little maroon camera to see if I would like flinch, but I didn't because I thought it was kind of cool. And I shot with it anyway. And everybody else at DSLRs, man. It's a GF something.
In school?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
All right, so your camera of choice. Say you had to.
If I had to start over.
Say you didn't work here anymore, or for whatever reason you had to buy your own camera. What would you buy?
I'd probably have to go with GH3 just because it's still a workhorse camera.
Yeah.
And it does everything that I need it to do in order to, But Fujis are just the pride and joy.
Yeah. Louie gets the opportunity on the weekends when we don't have to shoot to take whatever equipment he wants to, lighting equipment, right, tripods, whatever.
I know, what a spoiled brat, huh?
I know, wish I would have had that life. And a lot of times he ends up taking the Fuji cameras because that's really his thing. He really likes that and has created some really terrific shots with it. So, Jasmine, your DSLR was a Nikon
D90.
D90.
Yes.
And then when did you make the leap to mirrorless?
Last year.
Okay. And did you do it while keeping your DSLR?
I did, yes. Because it's a camera that I knew. I've had it for a long time. It was familiar. Knew how to use it. I mean, it was an extension of my arm.
Do you still use it?
I use it for macro photography.
Yeah.
Just because I've got this sweet lens that, you know, I'm having a hard time putting up.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
That's because you haven't seen some of the cool ones back there.
Right, exactly.
And Fuji, you're happy with. We're going to talk a little bit later about you experimenting with other cameras, but for now,
I'm very happy with the Fuji. It is, okay, here's when I have my girl moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So you've seen it, I've got a small purse, right?
Yeah.
My Fuji being my go-to camera, I can just throw that camera and it fits perfectly in my purse and no one knows I've got a nice high-end camera in there.
True.
And then also when I photograph for real estate listings, it is so easy to switch really quick from stills to video and do my pan and doing great. And
do your clients ever mention the difference between why you're using that little, because your mirrorless camera is small.
Oh yeah.
You have a smaller Fuji.
Yes.
Versus the DSLR. Do you ever get that whole thing?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I get, oh wow, what a cool camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I tell them, well, you know, I mean, it is actually a professional camera. Like, oh yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Well, Ian is our intern now and is more of an art student type of person that's getting into the visual arts of both photo and video. And it's kind of neat to see how a young person who is skilled in all kinds of painting and creative sculpture stuff really kind of gloms on to what we're trying to do as far as a group of photographers that are trying to figure out how we mix photo and video and audio and create a profitable e-product. Well, we share with Ian all the time all the ideas that we've got cooking, and good pun. He works in a restaurant during the day as well, and he was mentioning one of the restaurant e-products that we're developing. It's actually Robby and I are working on, and he was thinking, wow, that's really pretty cool. So let's say all of a sudden you grab a client. Say that restaurant that you're talking about says, you know what, this is terrific. Say you were to jump on that and you needed to buy your own camera system. Any idea what you'd buy?
Like Lou said, I would probably have to go with the GH3 just because it would handle everything I would need it to.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned earlier that I love the Fuji for stills. I think it gets amazing shots and I love the look of it. But as somebody that's not as technically driven as you guys are, I don't exactly know how to go about getting what I see, what I want out of it. Yeah. So it's actually almost as frustrating for me as it is seeing a product that took me a long time to get to. Yeah. Whereas the GH3, we use it enough in-house that I can set it and get what I need. Plus, it's got audio in the camera. It records video and audio all very well.
It does.
And it's just kind of an all-around win for me. Yeah. But if I had the know-how, I would love to say a Fuji.
It's funny that you say that because I tell that to people all the time that are struggling with that. I said, it's hard to screw up if you're shooting the Lumix cameras because they are made to get your shot, get it the way you want to, and get out of there.
Yeah.
But if you got the time, the shot looks really good on the Fuji camera.
It is worth it. It is worth it. For me, it takes a lot of extra time. Time for you guys is...
So would you ever think about a DSLR instead of a mirrorless? I mean, to launch your career?
After working with you guys, you kind of spoiled it for me. I had a D50 at one point in time in a previous life, I had mentioned. But now with the weight advantages, the power saving, just everything all around, it's just kind of, I'm sold.
Well, I think as soon as the colleges and photo schools realize that mirrorless cameras really are a smarter alternative than DSLRs and jump on the bandwagon instead of maybe being a little reluctant, as some of them are, not all, some. It maybe is a smarter choice to allow somebody to buy a powerful camera that's inexpensive and it's much easier to learn. That we'll see this generation will be the first one to skip the DSLR.
And if I can just throw in one last thing that, based on something that Jasmine said, you and I have been doing the hybrid thing now for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Preaching the message. And one of the things we talked about very early on in some of those Google Hangouts was, what do clients think when you showed up with this little hybrid?
Yeah.
And they're expecting you to show up with the big SLR.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah.
And it was a real issue,
yes.
even just 3 years ago.
So many people thought it was a drop-dead issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
And a couple people said, well, what they did to get their client over, or at least accepting of it, was they brought the big kit and said, since I'm here, do you mind if I just take some fun stuff with this? And the client would always say, sure, that's fine, because at least you're getting the real shots with the DSLR kit.
Yeah.
Fast forward just 3 years later.
Yeah.
And now, here's Jasmine saying, as a matter of fact, they don't care.
They don't care.
And not only from a girl's perspective, how she was saying earlier, she could just fit in her purse. Pretty sure she couldn't have fit a huge DSLR to get this fun shot if she had tried to show that in her purse.
You're right.
I don't know what kind of person you can. It would be monstrous.
Well, he's artsy enough that he can carry one too. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's called a toast rod.
I saw his purse bigger than mine. I saw it.
So from the Photo Channel studio, it's Crockett saying thanks for watching our rather lengthy vlog post. Hope you got something out of it.